good to know.
This was a great intro to what's going to be a monster show. We got to get into our first topic of the day, which, as always, is brought to us by FanDuel. Happy Super Bowl season to everybody who celebrates from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like us, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seats on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snacks, and placing some super bets. And the best place to do that is FanDuel, and they're here to help you end the season with not just one win, but 2 or 3 or 4. The best part about FanDuel is you can bet on the winner of Super Bowl 58, or which players will score a touchdown, or how many points will be scored. There are so many more ways to bet, and new customers, if they join today, get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. So make sure you visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to sign up. Once again, that is FanDuel.com/UCSS. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. We got a bunch of winning tickets. We got 2 to get to today. We'll do 1 in the first hour, 1 in the second hour. But Andrew Shane hit a 9-part same game parlay, in that 49ers-Lions NFC Championship game. Turned $10 into $333.80. That is a plus 3238 profit, 32-1 essentially. So shout out to Andrew Shane for his winning ticket. We'll get you another winning ticket coming up in the second hour of the show. If you have a winning ticket, make sure you guys send it to us at the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
It's a nice payday right there.
Very nice payday. We're going to hop off on our
I
first
believe
topic.
you can't trust the person who has 2 first names.
You can't.
Cannot.
Huh, interesting.
We're going to hop into our first topic here. And, G, I'm going to set this up, and I'll let you
That's Mike Lucas,
kind of run with it, because this started off with something that you tweeted here over the weekend. And, Anthony, if it's ready, let's pull up G's tweet here. He asked the great people of Twitter, or X,
Yeah.
if you're a Browns fan and a Deshaun Watson detractor, what will it take for you to get on board and support him the way the fan base embraced Baker and Flacco? This is an honest question, not looking for a contentious exchange. I just want your opinion. And this got a million responses. Seriously, it's over 600 responses as of this morning. I got a couple that varied, and then I'll open up the floor to you guys. But let's run through some of these responses here quickly just to see what some people said. The real Xavier P said he'd have
By the way,
lose.
the real Xavier P responds to every media member in Cleveland. I love him. He's a good dude.
He got to be rich.
He
has to
I don't think he is.
He got to be rich. Because he tweets so much he can't have no job.
That's all he does. He responds to every show in town all the time, nonstop.
Shout out to
He watches
Xavier.
everything.
How does somebody do that?
He's obsessed.
He's a big Browns fan. Shout out to Xavier.
He's a big
Good
fan.
dude.
No, and thanks
He's
for
a good
watching
dude.
the show and responding.
We
He's a
like
good dude,
Xavier
but he's
a
out of
lot.
his mind.
He
But
might
go
want to
ahead.
get out and
His,
play around the golf or something.
His response is he'd have to lose pigment and get charged and go to court to prove every Roman wrong, unlike Trump. Looks as if he understands the average guy, drinks some beers, gets a little dad bod, throw in a coverage for a terrible pick, talk to reporters as if they're the enemy. Let's go to the next one.
Wow, did he go to race? I mean, he just went there.
He
just said, I'm going to dive headfirst into the
I
racial
picked a
pool.
bunch of different ones. And there was over 600
Way
answers.
to bring
G.
folks together.
There was a ton, and they varied from everything. Mac the Buffalo said, play a full season, 15, 17 games, and win a playoff game. Hate to say,
That's
but
it.
that's all it
He
would
got
take
it.
for a significant amount of fans to change their minds.
Ding, 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 ding,
Let's
ding,
keep
ding.
moving. Smug Smuggler said, I want Watson to be as advertised. An elite top 5 quarterback. No
Yes.
excuses, nothing less.
Got it right.
Let's keep going here. Ryan Lenzel said full acceptance of responsibility, a public, detailed, sincere apology, and signs that he's genuinely committed to growth. No
Hold on
vague.
before you go any further. Do you guys agree with that part? I don't.
No.
He's maintained his innocence. What the hell is he going to apologize for?
No.
Yeah.
And he has not been charged. He has
pass.
not been convicted. Why in the world would an innocent man, and as far for what we have to say, he's innocent. He's never been proven guilty. Why the hell would an innocent man fall on his knee and apologize?
No. If he did it, then he should have. Yes.
Yes, but his
if he
stance all
didn't
along
do it,
is this is
then-
all a witch hunt.
Yeah.
So I
Right.
can't.
So no, I'm not expecting that. No.
completely disagree with that part.
We'll finish this one. We got 2 more, and then we'll open it up to what you guys think. But this also said, no vague sorry for those I hurt. We can move on now. No puff pieces with team arranged reporters. No, I'm focused on football accountability. 2 more, Ant. Joker says, my son asked if he could ever have a Watson jersey. The answer was without hesitation, no. I said we will not root for the Browns, but we will root for the Browns, but you will never wear that man's number on your back. I did not explain the allegations, but that's what it is. And last but not least, Ant, he doesn't connect with the fan base like Flacco and Baker. This is Joe Peary. I'm giving Watson a chance. I just haven't seen anything impressive yet. We keep talking about a couple good halves of football when if he's not what he's supposed to be, the conversation should be about a couple bad halves. So that's a very brief picture of the 600-plus responses.
Do you think that was representative? I mean, there's no way anybody could read all 600.
G. Bush was the only one to be able to accurately answer that question.
Man, it was. I did this as sort of an exercise. There's a lot of times when you talk about Deshaun Watson and why people aren't really receptive of him, or if they are a detractor, if they're standoffish, wait and see. A lot of times we just put it to the fact that it's just all about winning. And yes, winning counts for a lot of things and performance counts for a lot of things. But I wanted to show in this exercise is that it's disingenuous to think that the reason people don't believe in Deshaun Watson, or they're angry at him, or they don't like him, is simply based on what happens on the field. I did this as an exercise to show a gambit of responses by a large sum of people that show that it's not necessarily all about what he does on the field. As a matter of fact, I would argue that there's so many different various pieces and parts that people have for not liking him. You'd have to take in consideration one of 20 different items or things that people have a problem with Deshaun Watson. So when you bring up why he isn't popular, or why he isn't really in the same light as Baker or Flacco, sometimes we hide it all under performance, when obviously there's other things involved here that run the gamut from money, race, politics, allegations, moral standing, whether or not they have feelings or like the other two quarterbacks, whether you connect with the community, ideologies, all of that stuff plays a role in it. So when you say Deshaun isn't liked because of this, I think there needs to be a robust conversation around some of the items that we talk about and give reasons for.
It is a stew, for sure. His legacy, how you view him as popular, his, likability is as complex as, I think, any quarterback in the NFL. If I'm wrong, you guys...
Any quarterback besides, I think Michael Vick was the last quarterback that had this level of
now Michael
polarization.
Vick killed dogs. If you want to outrage America, kill dogs. That's one sure way. Now, I will say this. I think Michael Vick has done an incredible job of not rehabilitating his image. He had it right the way he went about it. And I know a few people that were not on his team, but they were consulting him. Tony Dungy was one of his big mentors, and he went to Tony and said, what do I need to do? Not because I want the public to like me. How do I become the best Michael Vick? And he listened. Michael Vick had it right. He didn't put the cart before the horse. Michael Vick decided, I don't really care about my public image. That will follow. He rehabilitated himself, and because you're right, that's a great example. That might be the best example that we can think of. Michael Vick's rehabilitation of his image might be one of the most transformational that I've ever seen. He went from being public enemy number one. People hated this man. Hated because he killed dogs. Now, when you see him or hear him, I'm sure there are some people that say, I can't look at him, he killed dogs. Mm-hmm. But for me, and I'm a dog lover, I think Michael Vick has done an incredible job, not of, I'm going to fix my image. That's the wrong way to do it. I'm going to fix myself. The image will take care of itself, and it has. And with Deshaun, his image is very complex. He's got a lot of the same stuff going on. You can choose to not like Deshaun Watson because of the things he was accused of if you wish. That's your prerogative. Remember, in this country, until you are proven guilty at the highest level and you've exhausted all appeals and every single step in the process says you did it, we owe it to him to assume that he's innocent. But if you want to use that as a reason to hate him, that's fine. For me, my answer was very simple. They hit it really well, I thought, in the responses. Win, live up to expectations. Done. Period.
What about you, Tyvis?
What do I need for? What's the question again?
what do you need from him?
Are you serious?
So he liked as much as Baker and Flacco.
I was so zoned into what Jay was saying that I kind of forgot the whole question.
So what do you think? What do you think are the reasons where he is in terms of the fan base?
How does he get to Baker and Flacco?
How does he get, if at all? Is that possible?
Well, to be honest with you, it's just win the big games. I mean, after the Ravens game, he was arguably there.
He was
there.
His image was as he was viewed more positively after the Ravens game than at any point during his Cleveland tenure. Why?
Yeah.
Because he lived up to his expectations.
Exactly. So
he won a big game on the road.
So for me, all you got to do is, first of all, the number one thing you need to do is play 17 games. That's bottom line. Just 17 games.
Healthy.
We haven't seen that yet. So 17. You get 17, you're good in my books. Now, of those 17 games, you will have some big games. I think the schedule came out. There's some pretty big games on that schedule next year. And the thing is, the big games this year outside of Baltimore, a lot of the big games that the Browns won this year, you weren't there, So we know that this team already has what it takes to beat some of those big games, win those big games.
Without him.
Without you. So with you there, you should be winning by a landslide. Now, it ultimately depends on what this front office does. You definitely need some help in that wide receiver room. We need that line to be right, and we need that running back room to be good. But ultimately, this whole thing comes back to you, because even without Nick Chubb, even with a messed up line, Philip Walker beat a team that's about to go, that's in the Super Bowl. Phil Walker, my boy, Philip, he did it. So, with that being said, you have to come out here and win those type of games. That flat out, that's what it is. If you do that, you good in my books. And like I said, me and G probably only a couple people that's arguing for you anyways right now. Because I thought you played some really good games until you got hurt and was out for the rest of the year. So just continue to progress in that way.
Bull, what do you need?
So, okay. This is obviously a very complicated issue.
It is.
Deshaun Watson will never, unless maybe he wins the Super Bowl, reach the popularity of Baker, like when he first took the Browns to the playoffs. Not Baker by the end.
Right.
Because Baker had lost popularity by the end of the time he was here.
Big time. Because he had a lot of losses in there.
And he still had his fans, and he still has his fans, but he lost his popularity. But where Baker was when he first came in his first game against the Jets, building up to the next year when he got to the playoffs, Deshaun, it's going to be nearly impossible for him to ever reach that level.
I think your first statement was right. If he wins a Super Bowl, he supersedes everybody. He becomes, you build a statue for him if he wins a Super Bowl here.
Here's the reality, Jay, okay? Now, let's talk about being disingenuous. So, what's disingenuous is that race is not a factor. In every conversation, we have to acknowledge that race is a factor. We can pretend it's not.
I don't agree with every conversation.
I think it is in all cases.
I've talked to a lot of players, and you would know this. A lot of the players on the outside hate the race noise. Hate it.
That's
because
fine.
They look at it as a divisive instrument. And they say, you guys may see race in our clubhouse, in our locker room. We don't see it.
That's fine.
Now, it has been an issue on certain teams that I've covered, and guys have told me on the side there's a racial element to what's going on here.
To me, it has nothing to do with what's in the team.
But every situation that race is a factor, I think that's a stretch.
There are a percentage of fans that are racist, right? There's a percentage of fans. I don't know what the percentage is. And within that percentage of fans that are racist, even though they are racist, there's some of them, if your quarterback plays well, even if he's black, even if they are racist, they're going to get on board. There's some that won't ever. Now, we also have to admit that it works the opposite way too, right? When it comes to being hypocritical, right? So some people would say, well, why is Deshaun Watson not getting the benefit of the doubt as Donald Trump, for example? I don't want to go down that road, but let's just say that, for example. Well, we could say the other way. There's probably people that are giving Deshaun Watson the benefit of the doubt and maybe not giving Donald Trump the benefit of the doubt. It works both ways.
Sure.
There may be some people in the white community that are not going to give Deshaun Watson a chance. There may be some people in the black community that are going to believe Deshaun Watson no matter what.
So you're saying there's a race element both ways?
Certainly. But certainly there's a bigger part of the population that's majority white, and white people generally in this country have more power, and their racism can affect change more than the opposite way. I don't think there's any doubt about that. We can't pretend that some people don't have the right to think. You said before, well, we got to assume he's innocent. I don't necessarily believe that.
You don't have to.
We're not a court of law.
I said it's up to each individual.
Exactly.
The way I view it is, our system is set up where we would rather 100 innocent men,
right,
or 100 guilty men, 100 guilty men get off than one innocent man be convicted.
I agree with that.
That's the way our system is.
I 100% agree with that.
And so far, according to our system, he's broken no laws.
That. He has broken no laws. He owes no apologies.
Now, if you want to say, and a lot of people do and will, I don't believe that. I think there was some okay.
Right.
That's up to you.
So, but everybody individually, and just because you may think Deshaun Watson is guilty of something,
sure,
maybe you don't know exactly. That doesn't make you racist, and that doesn't make you a Deshaun Watson hater necessarily.
No, of course not.
To me, if there are 20-something people accusing anybody, I'm going to, no matter, for me, I can only speak for myself, no matter who that person is, I'm going to tend to believe the women.
And that is fair.
However, I would also say that in the end, he served his suspension. He has not been found guilty at court. So whether or not I believe Deshaun Watson is completely innocent, completely guilty, or somewhere in between, which is probably where I believe, it doesn't matter. Yeah. He's been cleared legally, and nobody has, in my opinion, any right to stop him from playing.
In fact, Bull, I would say he was unfairly punished.
I think
by his employer.
Probably true.
How do you penalize somebody and suspend them for 2/3 of a season when there's no proof that he's done anything wrong? To me, that element of it is the most egregious part of all of this.
Well, I don't know if we know there's no proof. There's certainly not enough proof.
It didn't reach a standard to indict him.
That's true.
Which is the lowest standard in our criminal system.
That's true.
But the league looked at it and said, no, he did it.
Can I add something to what you said? Because I think you hit on something that was very profound. And I talked about this, I believe, on our chat a little bit too. There is and I don't like both sidesism, but there is a tug and pull when it comes to
what do you mean both sidesism?
So here's what I'll say. Bull said, there is a group of people that race could play a part in it, in not liking Deshaun Watson. Also, there is on the other side, there's a group of people in the African American community that may be standing and protecting Deshaun Watson because they're just going to blindly trust that.
Well, you don't deny that is a real thing.
No. Here's what I'm saying.
It is a real thing.
Yeah, like what I'm saying is, I've had conversations, right? And see, I'm in the street, like I'm on the ground level, like so people come up to me and here's the sentiment, and I'm just trying to give you a mirror so you can see what people think about it. Take me out of it. I'm just the messenger. A lot of people say, "Look, G. Bush, this is a kid's game. We understand Deshaun Watson ain't, he's not no perfect person, but people that stand on the soapbox and sit and scream and cry and jump up and down and say he's a predator. Every time you could write a tweet, he's a predator, he's a predator, he's a predator, he's a predator, right?" And he said, we sit here and as a community, we have to act like we don't see what's in front of us. Somebody said, we are in a presidential election and somebody was convicted. $89 million they had to pay. Now, I don't really care about that. My problem is
the big difference though. We got to be careful, and because Deshaun's still facing that. There's civil,
okay,
and that's what that conviction was.
That
bar, by the way, is far less than criminal.
But there was a jury of his peers.
No, that was actually, and on one of them it was a judge trial. But I don't want to go down that road because G. Bush. As far as I know, correct me, I may be wrong.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson is still facing a civil trial.
Yes, one.
And that's what Trump was found.
Let me finish.
Right, but Donald Trump has admitted he said things publicly.
So here's the sentiment, and I'm just telling you how it is. There's a sentiment in the black community where it's like, we not about to let you do that again. We not about to let you just cancel this dude, and you're gonna pile on, and all the media is gonna keep doing it. We're not gonna hear it. And what happens when you feel like there's a grievance against and it's a bias, what happens is people dig in. And even if they did have something on Deshaun Watson, or even if it was some truth to whatever happened, there's a group in the black community that's like, no, we're not going to let you do that. Not going to let you railroad him when you don't hold other people in public positions.
So that is both wayisms, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and yes, and there's certainly truth to that. I mean, by and large, the court system works for the benefit of rich America, and has often worked way more often, for the benefit of white America than black America.
And we
There's
have
really no denying that.
We've systemically created things to fix that.
Well,
You
we've
would agree with that?
tried.
Well,
We've
yeah,
tried.
with hiring practices and
Right, but
different
now
things.
they're being gutted by our government now.
Some of them are, but for instance, like
Yeah.
the NFL's a private business, they can do what they want.
Right.
They can make a rule that says for every opening head coach, we have to interview an African American.
Right.
They can do that.
But the
So we're
fact that
trying-
we
it's
have to
trying
have
be
that rule
balanced
shows
out.
us that we're a racist society.
but-
Well,
but-
to G's
Yeah.
point, if you don't know
Yeah.
that we're a racist society,
But-
go
yeah.
on YouTube and look up OJ verdict reaction.
Yeah,
and
that's
it kills me.
Yeah.
Because it was viewed, if you were white, you thought he was guilty and you wanted him punished. The black community, when the verdict was announced, and the video is several minutes long and many different locations, and it shows that whether it was middle America, coastal, west, east, north, south, the verdict reaction was the same. And I had a conversation once with many of my black friends about, did you cheer the verdict? Hell yeah, I cheered the verdict. Do you think he did it? Well, yeah, he did it. So that's kind of, and there were probably some white people that weren't convinced if he did it or not.
That's and when I want to take it further, because we said it's a part could be racial. There's another part that is called, you know, the economic disparity between players and fans. So that is
Gee,
also
a lot of black men make $200 million.
Well, no. Here's what I'm saying: the disparity of when people bring up $200 million, right? There's a thought process that I work my ass off every single day. They play a kids game, right? They're very good at what they do. I admire them. Actually, I'm a fan. It's this.
So they resent everybody.
It's the dichotomy of being like you look like you got rewarded for doing bad things, and I'm over here struggling to put food on the table. That's why a lot of people bring up 230.
Okay, so they bring it up specifically for him, but let's say not Lamar Jackson.
Yes, because here's the thing. Because
there's that shadow of guilt over him.
And plus, Lamar Jackson is paying dividends on the field. Lamar, you see what I'm saying?
That's another big part of it.
So it's a combination of things.
Yeah.
And I just want to throw this out and really quick so everybody can get back in. My thought process was that I also did this for Deshaun Watson, right? Because I wanted to show him, hey, you see all these things, reasons people don't like you. Some of them you gonna reach. Some of them you'll never reach. Some may like you. Some may hate you. Some may go, want to be your best friend, or you think the best thing that happened to Cleveland Browns. The reality of the situation is, for you to get back to what you are and who you are, you got to stop worried about what anybody like you.
I'll co-sign that.
Live your life. If you want to put 17 Maybachs on Instagram, do it. You want 35 chains on in the press conference, do it.
But gee, you do understand that with that, you're inviting
But he
some of
shouldn't care
the
about
hatred.
that.
He shouldn't care. So what you should do is, if you want to live your life and share it with everyone,
Live it.
don't read the comments.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's the biggest problem here, I think. Because there's always going to be people that hate Deshaun Watson.
He feels like he is not free. He's not playing. When you ain't free and you trying to please people, and I know it hurts.
Stop reading your mentions.
It hurts to hear people scream Flacco's name. And you like, dang, I wish I could get that. It hurts to see anytime Baker plays well, it goes to why did you keep Baker and Deshaun? That hits your psyche.
Sure.
But I'm here to tell you, my man, the only thing you got in this life is these few years to do it. Don't regret nothing. Leave it on the field. Do your thing. If you want to enjoy your life, you came from nothing. There's a lot of black males that came from zero. No father. Your mother had tongue cancer. You take care of a lot of people. Enjoy it. And the more you enjoy it, the more free you are, you'll get back to the old Watson. Because I think you're searching for him. It's in there. You just got to leave all the stuff alone. And at the end of the day, if you win these games and you play like you playing and being genuine, people will accept you. And the ones that don't, screw them.
Well, I co-sign everything that you said, and to be honest with you, I think the number one thing that he has to realize is, I suffer with this, and it took me a while to get this one, is that you can't care about what you see on social media.
No.
You can't care about it. The only people that you should care about the opinion of is the people that's in that building. Those other 52 people that's on that roster, that's who you owe it to. That coaching staff that's with you, that's making significant changes just to try to help you get back to who you was, that's who you owe it to. If you feel like you need some motivation, think about those teammates that you got. These guys is depending on me to be number 4. 4. They want 4. Go be that guy. Do the dude that rock out on the guitar that's having fun.
Where that bow and arrow at?
Yeah, you know the one that.
Where that go? Where that go?
That's the guy that you owe to the Cleveland Brown teammates and your coaches. That's the guy that they see on camera. That's the guy that when they're away from that building and people talk about you to your teammates, your teammates, the ones that step up and say, "Hold on, bro, you ain't about to talk about folk like that." Like those are the people that you need to get back to who you was for. So, like G said, you need to forget the rest of the world. It's not about what media members like you, what people in the world say about you. On Sunday, it's all about the Cleveland Browns and being the best version of Deshaun Watson that you can be. And if you can do that, you can look yourself in the mirror and say that and look your teammates in the eyes after every game and say, "Hey, I did everything I could to win that game." You'll get the respect. That right there is much more than any media member or anybody can ever say to you. If you can have your brothers that's in battle with you look you in your face and say, "Bro, I respect what you did. You gave it everything you got." And that's sincere. That's better than any appraisal or approval that you'll get from anybody. So that's what you need to be focused on, my personal opinion.
I think I just want to look at this from, obviously we've talked a lot about this angle, but there is one thing we haven't discussed in the last 30 minutes really, and it's an important angle, it's an important part of the discussion. And the people in this group are the people who will come around with Deshaun Watson.
When he wins.
And it's not just about winning, because he won as many games as Joe Flacco did.
No, he has to be the reason they go to the playoffs,
Right.
and he has to play 17 games.
He has to. So when the Browns traded for Deshaun Watson, my expectation, and I think most fans' expectation for him, was here. Okay? My Baker Mayfield expectation when the Browns drafted him was here. I was like, okay, I wasn't high on him coming out of college, but I wasn't down on him. I liked him better than Sam Darnold. Now I liked him less than Josh Rosen.
You talking about Sam Darnold, the only one out of that
yeah, that's an
quarterback
embarrassing
that's
tweet.
in the Super Bowl.
That's an embarrassing tweet. Okay.
That is an embarrassing tweet.
My expectations, G, when the Browns signed Joe Flacco, were here. So of course, even if we say Joe Flacco and Deshaun Watson played at the same level, and I think Flacco played better, but even if I argue, for argument's sake, that Flacco played the same as Deshaun Watson, well, here's the difference for me. My expectations for Watson were here. My expectations for Flacco were here.
And you also had to look at the salary, too. I know that G doesn't like when we talk the money, but I do because that's an asset that we could be using elsewhere to strengthen our team that we don't have. But I have to look at salary.
That's fine. I'm just, obviously it's part of it, but still, it's about the expectations.
Sure.
So yeah, I'm going to get more excited because I had no expectations for Flacco, and he played pretty well. I had expectations. My expectations for Deshaun Watson, the reason when the news broke and I was on the radio that I went crazy on the air is because I thought for the first time in the history of this franchise, well, the modern history of this franchise, they had a top 5 quarterback because Deshaun Watson in Houston was a top 5 quarterback. Deshaun Watson, and oddly enough, in his last year there, he didn't win any games, although he played great. But in the 2 years before that, they won a ton of games because of him.
Right.
And they made the playoffs 2 years in a row because of him.
So we saw it.
And when you look at what Deshaun Watson has done here, we can debate how well he's played, but the reality is that outside of maybe the Ravens game, he has not been the reason why they've won any games. In other words, he played fine. He played a good game against Titans. They could have won that game with almost any quarterback. We know that.
It's
the Cardinals.
It's hard to say that because this defense has been lights out this entire year. So
But that's
you can say that
No,
about
that's his point.
You can say that about
That's my
any
point.
Phillip beat
Yeah. What?
Niners.
Oh, no, don't do that.
The
Hold
point
on,
is,
don't do
he was
that.
the quarterback when
he beat the
Phillip
Niners.
won that game.
The point is, guys, I never thought 2 years after trading for Watson that I'd be debating whether or not he's played well because I assumed he was going to be great.
but he's
And
barely played.
True.
That's the problem.
I'm not, and that's why I'm not saying it's over. I'm not saying he can't be great.
No, he's got 3 years to fix this.
I'm saying to this point, and yes, obviously the fact that he hasn't played has played a big role.
That's the biggest role
But
to me.
even when he's been on the field, outside of the second half against Baltimore, he hasn't looked special. And I expected him to be special.
Well, to
Those
that
are my
point, I went
expectations.
back and read the mentions when I knew we were going to do this. I wanted to see, like, okay, so what is the elixir here? What forces a fan base to hate a player? What forces a fan base to love a player? It's a W and it's an L. I went back into the mentions on, I think it was November 12th.
After the Ravens game.
After the Ravens
Yes.
game. Deshaun Watson could have run for mayor and would have won 95-5. The comments were unbelievable. Everybody
Well,
was
remember,
euphoric.
you're the one who points out that not that many people are really on Twitter.
No, I know. But
Yeah.
for the sake of this discussion,
Right,
that's
sure.
why it's dangerous to do
Yeah.
that, but that's all we have.
Right, that's true.
Now, you can go to, a radio station. I listened, obviously, our show. I listened to other media on the Monday after. The questions were over. We got him.
So look,
there he is.
Can I ask this question then? I've always had this issue, right? And I think it's strange. So you go back and read those mentions after the game. Everybody is fired up. You go back and watch our show that we did after that, fired up, right? So my question is, what happened since then?
Joe Flacco came in and the team looked markedly better.
Okay,
That's what happened.
They win the Ravens game, right? I would have expected people to be like, wow, this dude hurt his ankle, and he probably needed surgery. Knowing in the second half, he was probably hurt the whole second half and couldn't with his throwing arm. And he led the team back to a great victory against a rival on the road, big time win, right?
He got all the flowers in the
All
world.
the flowers,
for it.
right?
Even nationally, by the way.
So
national shows were singing his praise.
So he gets hurt, right? You can say I'm disappointed because he got hurt, right? But I'm not going to go back and do revisionist history and say this whole thing's been a disaster because I just saw him play.
Right, but what happened was, because it's a fair question. Like, God, the guy hasn't taken a snap, and his reputation has been sullied since it was at its peak. The answer to me is very simple. Joe Flacco came in, and Joe Flacco looked way better at 38 years old on his fifth team, cut, didn't play most of the year, came out of his living room, and looked markedly better. So now what they were saying was, you've got 11 guys, and with this 11 guys, you were doing okay, and you had a half where you looked like, okay, that's what the Super Bowl offense looks like. Then you took one player out, you put another player in, and that offense and their production went up. And I think and then it forced fans to go back and say, well, yeah, but now that I'm from 30,000 feet and not right over the Ravens win, now I can take into account all of his play while he's been here.
Let me throw this out to Bull's point.
Yeah.
Expectations. Are we saying that the expectations from Joe Flacco was here?
Yeah.
Right?
They were.
And when he played well, do you believe that elevated Joe Flacco to a point where now you thought, well, he's playing this well, he might be on the same level?
Yeah, but we all said the same thing. Real Joe Flacco's going to stand up at some point, and he did.
My expectation, like if the Browns re-sign, if Joe Flacco is going to be their quarterback next year, my expectations for him
Flacco will go up.
would be higher than what they were when they signed him this year. However, they still won't be anywhere as close to high as they were for Deshaun Watson.
Nor should they be.
When they added him.
Because he still eventually became Joe Flacco.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't think...
Bull, we sat here every week and we kept saying the kill pill for this team is the interception.
But he's
when
doing
our
it every
season
week.
ends, it will be... Yeah, but they weren't as punitive and they weren't
and
back-to-back
They just
plays.
weren't playing as good a team.
Right, but I think we
it.
all knew. We all tempered our enthusiasm to the point by saying, I'm still nervous about his interceptions. As long as he's throwing three touchdowns a game, we'll take a pick.
But
we didn't get that in Houston.
I will say this, when Deshaun Watson played that second half against the Ravens, I said to myself, okay, maybe this is the start of him getting back to the player he was.
Yeah, I did too.
Okay?
And I think the fans
And I
did.
thought we had a chance of that.
Okay.
But my thoughts about Watson, actually, I think I'm in the minority here. My thoughts about Watson really don't have anything to do with Flacco. Because I'm judging Watson on his own, and I'm saying, I'm looking back at what he did, And I was not overly impressed by anything he did until the Baltimore game.
Yep.
And that second half, I was like, here's the guy I thought they traded for. But it had only been a half. My thought was, okay, now the next bunch of weeks, he's going to get on a roll,
cooking,
and he's
right?
going to be that guy again. But I didn't know that for sure. I was hoping that would be the case. And I think what some people have done is said, that was the turning point, and they're just assuming it's going to happen. I was hopeful it was going to happen, but we never got to see it after that. So I'm not sure.
Do you think
His track record with the Browns has not been anywhere close to what I thought it would be. And until we see it on the regular, I don't know if it's going to happen for sure.
It's not just you. I don't know a fan that says he's played up to his expectations, up to his contract, up to what we didn't trade for him to be a 500 quarterback and to throw for 200 yards a game. That's not the Deshaun Watson we traded for. So that's fair for you to say that. I don't know anybody, and if there's out there, feel free to reach out to Mikey, however, in the chat or whatever, and let me know. Does anybody think that Deshaun Watson has met or exceeded what his expectations were when we traded for him? Show of hands.
I do think we should have readjusted those expectations after 11 games suspension.
Cool, then he should readjust his contract.
Well, that's not the way it works.
No, I don't think so. But
I can't readjust my expectations. I can't. I wish I could, but I can't.
Wait. You mean in the short term or in the long term?
No. In the short term. Because here's the thing. For me, I view 11 and 12 games as the short term, right? Like, to me, the sample size is, like, I can't even really take the last 6 because he couldn't even practice. So I was like, okay, we'll take these 6 or whatever the case may be.
So your argument is I should judge him on a Baker scale, maybe.
Wait, why do you say that?
Like a lower scale, because my scale for Baker is lower. Because my expectations for Baker are lower.
I don't think you should.
Well, I'm asking G his opinion.
No. I think. Listen,
you're saying I should lower my expectations.
No. I think we should have lowered those expectations for the first year.
Okay.
Because
we
we're
did.
like, okay, so now we came out this year. And
the expectations were high again.
He didn't really ball out against Pittsburgh. You know, he had some so-so games against the Cardinals, and I thought he played good against the Titans.
He played a
and
good
his
game.
best game was probably against the Ravens in the second half.
Yeah.
Now, my thing is it totally fair to say, hey, look, man, I don't know who said it. I said, listen, it's going to be hard to make excuses. Joe Flacco came in here. I was the Flaccovelli guy. Listen, I'm fair when it comes. He got to hit the ground running next year. However, I will say that when we look at this thing, we got to take in consideration the totality of it. You know, Wheaton played more games. Brian Hoyer played more games. You even have, obviously, Baker played more games.
None of those guys had the expectations.
But here's the thing. If you want to give it to Baker, and I'm not comparing the two, Baker was the first overall pick. If you're the first overall pick, you got to be a franchise quarterback.
And he hasn't been.
And
his career's been a disappointment.
And they moved on from him.
Yes, he had 54 games and showed
Right.
that.
But I can speak for others. I know there are people saying he stinks, he's done. I'm saying, well, I haven't seen it yet. I'm not ready to say, oh, it's never going to happen.
That's fair.
I'm saying I got to see it.
I see it.
And I think it's a compliment to Watson for my expectations to still, after all this time, be very high.
Do you
Because
think
you think
it's
you can do it.
more likely than not that he does return to the old Deshaun Watson? Because I do. And I don't know what that percentage is, but after I saw it in Baltimore, and when we all saw it, we said, that's it. That's what it looks like. That's the guy we traded for.
The problem is, now that you sit and think about it, it was a half of football.
I know, but it was against one of the best defenses in the NFL at their place. So the bar was high. It wasn't against Arizona. It wasn't against any of these middling teams.
But I have to see it more.
It was against a team that's up here.
I think it's, right now, I think it's 50-50 that he's going to get back to being that guy.
That's fair, because I'm probably, 60-40 that he is going to get back to that guy.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I hope so.
And we all need him to be. And
I don't want to lower my expectations. I want Deshaun Watson to be a top, and when I say top 5, if he's the 6th best quarterback, I don't give a crap.
Right.
You know what I mean by top 5.
Name the top 5. It's going to be very difficult to crack that
If he's anywhere close to that group, that's good. He needs to be close or right there.
Top 10 for sure.
I don't want him to be I'm not okay if he's the 17th quarterback in the league. Baker was the 17th quarterback in the league.
I think for me, the biggest thing about Deshaun Watson is the biggest difference between Joe and Deshaun is that Joe got more out of his receivers. We didn't see David Njoku, this version of David Njoku with Deshaun. but we did with Joe.
Right.
You know, Amari Cooper is a coop. We ain't even talking about him. Elijah Moore started to come alive.
Well,
a little
but
bit.
even Amari Cooper had his career game and
True.
the best game ever
So
for a Browns
I
wide
think
receiver.
that for me is the biggest difference between Joe and Deshaun. Like Deshaun, don't get me wrong, Deshaun is great. He brings a great energy in there. Everybody's excited to play with Deshaun. Like, how do I know? Because I told you, I hear the press conference. They'd be like, "Oh my God, wait till y'all see folks. Wait till y'all see this." So I know that he has that ability. But on Sunday, he got to prove it. He got to raise the level of play. You know, they say the difference between good quarterbacks and great quarterbacks is can they make the people around them better? Right. And Joe Flacco came in there and he did that.
One last thing, because I know Mike has to get a read. I'm just putting a bunch of tea leaves together, and here's the narrative that I've put together.
Okay.
I want to say that it's mostly opinion, but there is some factual reporting from things that I'm hearing. I think that there is immense pressure on Jimmy and D. They understand that their legacy is in the balance.